Charlie flumped over, hands to ears.
I don't want to hear.
Oh, but you gotta hear, Charlie. It's a good joke. Oh, it's Ray, Charlie.
He hissed.
Go away,
he said.
No, sir, Charlie. Why, no. Charlie, honey, not until I tell.
Get,
he said.
Let me tell. We talked to that carny boss, and he liked to die laughing. He said he sold that jar and what was in it to some hick for $12, and it ain't worth more than $2 at most.
Laughter bloomed in the dark, right out of her mouth, an awful kind of laughter. She finished it quick.
It's junk, Charlie. Rubber, papier-mâché, silk, cotton, boric acid, that's all. Got a metal frame inside. That's all it is, Charlie. That's all.
She shrilled.
No.
He sat up swiftly, ripping sheets apart and big fingers roaring.
I don't want to hear, don't want to hear,
he bellowed over and over. She said,
Wait till everyone hears how fake it is. Won't they laugh? Won't they flap their lungs?
He caught her wrists.
You ain't gonna tell them.
Wouldn't want me known as a liar, would you, Charlie?
He flung her off and away.
Why don't you leave me alone, you dirty, jealous mean of everything I do. I took shine off your nose when I brung the jar home. You didn't sleep right till you ruined things.
She laughed.
Then I won't tell anybody,
she said. He stared at her.
You spoiled my fun. That's all that counted. It don't matter if you tell the rest. I know, and I'll never have no more fun. You and that Tom Carmody, I wish I could stop him laughing. He's been laughing for years at me. Well, you's go tell the rest, the other people now. Might as well have your fun.
He strode angrily, grabbed the jar so it sloshed, and would have flung it to the floor, but he stopped trembling and let it down softly on the spindly table. He leaned over it, sobbing. If he lost this, the world was gone, and he was losing Theedy, too. Every month that passed, she danced further away, sneering at him, funning him. For too many years, her hips had been the pendulum by which he reckoned the time of his living. But other men, Tom Carmody for one, were reckoning time from the same source. Theedy stood, waiting for him to smash the jar. Instead, he petted and stroked and gradually quieted himself over it. He thought of the long, good evenings in the past month, those rich evenings of friends and talk, moving about the room. That, at least, was good, if nothing else. He turned slowly to Theedy. She was lost forever to him.
Theedy, you didn't go to the carnival.
Yes, I did.
You're lying,
he said quietly.
No, I'm not.
This jar has to have something in it. Something besides the junk you say. Too many people believe there's something in it, Theedy. You can't change that. The carny boss, if you talked with him, he lied.
Charlie took a deep breath and then said,
Come here, Theedy.
What you want?
She asked, sullenly.
Come over here.
He took a step toward her.
Come here.
Keep away from me, Charlie.
Just want to show you something, Theedy.
His voice was soft, low, and insistent.
Here, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty.
It was another night, about a week later. Gramps Medno and Granny Carnation came, followed by young Juke and Mrs. Tridden and Jadu, the colored man, followed by all the others, young and old, sweet and sour, creaking into chairs, each with his or her thought, hope, fear, and wonder in mind, each not looking at the shrine, but saying hello softly to Charlie. They waited for the others to gather. From the shine of their eyes, one could see that each saw something different in the jar, something of the life and the pale life after life, and the life in death, and the death in life, each with his story, his cue, his lines, familiar, old but new. Charlie sat alone.
Hello, Charlie.
Somebody peered into the empty bedroom.
Your wife gone off again to visit her folks?
Yeah, she went for Tennessee. Be back in a couple weeks. She's the darndest one for running, you know, Theedy?
Great one for jumping around, that woman.
Soft voices talking, getting settled, and then, quite suddenly, walking on the dark porch and shining his eyes in at the people, Tom Carmody. Tom Carmody standing outside the door, knees sagging and trembling, arms hanging and shaking at his side, staring into the room. Tom Carmody not daring to enter. Tom Carmody with his mouth open, but not smiling. His lips wet and slack, not smiling. His face pale as chalk, as if it had been sick for a long time. Gramps looked up at the jar, clearing his throat, and said,
"Why, I never noticed so definite before. It's got blue eyes."
It's always had blue eyes,
said Granny Carnation.
"No,"
whined Gramps.
"No, it didn't. They was brown last time we was here."
He blinked upward.
"And another thing, it's got brown hair. Didn't have brown hair before."
Yes, it did.
sighed Mrs. Tridden.
"No, it didn't."
Yes, it did.
Tom Carmody, shivering in the summer night, staring in at the jar, Charlie glancing up at it, rolling a cigarette, casually, all peace and calm, very certain of his life and thoughts. Tom Carmody, alone, seeing things about the jar he never saw before. Everybody seeing what they wanted to see, all thoughts running in a fall of quick rain.
My baby, my little baby,
thought Mrs. Tridden.
"A brain!"
thought Gramps. The colored man jigged his fingers.
Meaty bamboo mama.
A fisherman pursed his lips.
Jellyfish.
Kitten. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
The thoughts drowned, clawing in Juke's eyes.
Kitten.
everything and anything.
Shrilled Granny's wheezed thought.
Then at the swamp, death, the pale things, the wet things from the sea.
Silence. And then Gramps whispered,
"I wonder if it's he or she or just a plain old it."
Charlie glanced up, satisfied, tamping his cigarette, sharpening it to his mouth. Then he looked at Tom Carmody, who would never smile again in the door.
I reckon we'll never know. Yeah, I reckon we won't.
Charlie shook his head slowly and settled down with his guess, looking. It was just one of those things they kept in a jar, in the tent of a sideshow, on the outskirts of a little drowsy town. One of those pale things, drifting in alcohol plasma, forever dreaming and circling, with its peeled, dead eyes, staring out at you and never seeing you.
The information sources for this podcast are The Jar by Ray Bradbury, music by Apple Loops, voices courtesy of Daniel Feldhacker, Shannon Harris, Jeannie Lefevre, and Amanda Marks.